What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you tuning in. We're going to talk a little college football right now and about Arizona State, who lays a bit of an egg falling to Houston, who's pretty solid, but the way that game played out was frustrating if you are a fan of the Sun Devils. I don't understand what is going on with this team a little bit with ASU. There is a very disturbing trend going on with them, and that's mainly what I want to talk about. They started that game incredibly slow, and they're down 24-0 going into the fourth. They come out like a bat out of hell in the fourth quarter and try and make a run at that thing, but like you're down 24 points in the fourth. I mean, at that point, the game is almost out of reach. You can nitpick some of the decisions on what they did there and, deciding to kick a field goal at one point and just kind of the way that they played out in the fourth quarter. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. They come up short. They get handed another loss. But we're now 5 games in to Big 12 play. And this is a bigger problem than just that game. The game is a microcosm to something that I want to talk about with them. There is a very disturbing trend with this team of just starting games incredibly slow and then finally kind of kicking it into second gear. They start the first quarter in just unbearable fashion for the way that they've been playing in this since conference started. A little bit of slow out of the gates out of halftime. Second quarter, fourth quarter, they go crazy. Why is it that this team can't start a game well? Why is it that they can't come out of the locker room and have some fight at that point? They have 5 games in conference, as I just said. Houston, scoreless in the first, scoreless in the second, scoreless in the third, 16 in the fourth. Game before that, Texas Tech, 3 in the first, 6 in the second, 7 in the third, and then 10 in the fourth. Pretty balanced, actually, a pretty decent game. Utah, 3 in the first, none in the second, none in the fourth, 7 in the third. A little bit different from their normal trend, but that game was just different. Levitt wasn't playing. Then you go to Texas Christian, TCU, 0 in the first, and they're down 17-0 in that game. 14 in the second, 3 in the third as they find themselves again in a battle, and then they get 10 in the fourth to come back and close that thing. And then you go all the way back to their first conference game against Baylor, 3 in the first, 7 in the second, 3 in the third, 14 in the fourth. So you add all those up. They have 9 points in the first quarter in 5 conference games. Not even 2 points a quarter in the first quarter right now through 5 games. 27 in the second, pretty solid. 20 in the third, okay. 50 in the fourth. They close games great. They come out and they make all the plays and they push it. Levitt gets going. It seems like once they get that momentum rolling on the offense, you can really see what this team can do. They got the running backs, obviously. They got so many pieces that go crazy right there. Why can't they start a game like that? Why is it that it takes till their back is up against the wall before they finally start making some plays and pushing it and trying to make a game of things and trying to go after somebody? It's infuriating watching a team with this much talent come out flat, which they do. It feels like almost every single game. And in a bunch of these games, it's come back to bite them. It did against Houston. They end up being down 24 points before they finally start to play in the fourth quarter. And, again, they make a run at it. They get a chance at this thing, and they had the ball down a score. Aren't able to do anything with it, but at least they had got it to a point where they had a chance at coming back in that thing. But now you find yourself in a position with 2 losses in conference, and there's still BYU, who hasn't lost a game. There's still Cincinnati, who's undefeated in Big 12 play. And you got Houston now ahead of you with the tiebreaker. Texas Tech is ahead of you, and you are in a huge logjam tie with Utah, Kansas State, TCU. The hopes of going to the playoffs are basically dead at this point. Even if you win out, you're going to need all kinds of help. It's not completely impossible. It's not like they're mathematically eliminated, but they played with fire too many times this year, and they've found themselves in trouble too many times where they had to make every single possible play down the stretch to come back, and, it just didn't happen that way. The fact that you get to this point where now you are out with a team that had this much talent, this much expectations is a huge letdown. And a lot of the momentum that was built last year is kind of slipping away right now because you maybe didn't need to win the Big 12 on back-to-back years, but you need to compete, and there's still a few weeks left, and at this point, they're basically eliminated. Their best players throughout the season have kind of been banged up a little bit. Levitt's been banged up a little bit. And, obviously now you're a little more shorthanded in the wide receiver room than you'd like to be as they continue to deal with injuries over there. But everyone at some point gets, some level of players getting injured and has to deal with a little bit of adversity. It's not like anyone goes through anything. Obviously, losing Jordan Tyson for that game or having him is a massive difference. He's probably, a top 3 wide receiver in the country right now. And he's having an incredible year. But they just, you play with fire, you're going to get burned. And that's what they've been doing. I don't understand why they are so manila, why they're so flat on the, not just with their energy, but with the play calling to start these games. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, hey, like we're down 2 scores. We need to now actually really try and push the tempo. They need to come out with an actual intensity from the very beginning, and they haven't. And, that's how you end up finding yourself at 5-3 and now in some serious world of hurt. Again, not completely out of it at this point. You still got 4 games left, and they're all very winnable games. Games that, they're going to have they might be favored in all of them, especially considering how Iowa State's kind of starting to struggle and falling off. Arizona's starting to struggle and fall off. It has been a bad year for Colorado. Like, they're going to have an opportunity at running the table here down the stretch. Even if they do that, they're going to need a lot of help. So it was a very disappointing performance to do that at home, coming off of such a massive win over Texas Tech. It's just very disappointing. So we'll see what happens in these last few games. But if they had any shot at still kind of somehow backdooring their way into the Big 12 championship, they're going to have to start playing better at the start of games. They're going to have to start playing better coming out of the locker room. They're going to need to be more aggressive, because you can't have these kind of performances and expect anything less than what they got. And, they got what they deserved. You play flat, you play bad for 3 quarters. You can't expect a Superman performance in the 4th quarter to bring you all the way back. Those games are so few and far between. Texas did it, and everyone's talking about it because those games just don't happen. More than likely, you're going to see what happened. You're going to end up losing and dropping the game. And now you need help, and you need to be perfect, which is about the worst place you can be with 4 games still left remaining. We'll see if they can make a run at it, but it does not feel like it anymore.